fintechs in Nigeria, and what it really means for us. And we have with us Samson Akintaro, tech analyst with Nairametrics, and we also have a guest with us, Akinfa Demi, right? Adibowale, is a visionary entrepreneur and CEO, lead developer at Return 360 Technologies. We also have Wade, who will be joining us soon. Wade Ayime, who is head of outreach with Nairametrics. And today, like I said, was looking to speak on the rise of fintech in Nigeria. We're going to. It's something that's is transforming Nigeria's economy. The rise of fintech. So I'll be asking and speaking with these elite guys. I use the word elite, right? To help us understand why fintech is actually booming in Nigeria. And what it means for us, on the long run. And because that's a very exciting sector. So I think let's just go straight into it, right? And Samson, I'll start with you first, right? So we'll focus on the rise of fintech in Nigeria first of all, right? So why is fintech growing so quickly in Nigeria, really? Why?
Thank you, Ogiba. Fintech is growing in Nigeria because they have come to fill a gap,
Okay.
When fintechs came, they saw that the gap left by the traditional banks, a lot of people could not easily open an account with a bank. And fintech came, they wanted to make it easy. They wanted to be able to open an account in the comfort of your room. And until maybe December or recently, let's say last year, when the CBN mandated BVN and NIN for tier 1 accounts, you could see that earlier when the fintech just came in, with your mobile number, you can quickly just open an account.
Yes.
And then you have an account already. You can send you money, you can receive money. So I think the fintech, they have their first breakthrough during the COVID in 2020.
Okay.
When a lot of people could not go out and people were trying to limit contacts and all that. So a lot of people embrace fintech at that point. You see businesses also, they prefer you send them transfer rather than paying with cash because they don't want contact with you.
Yeah.
And finally, I think the icing on the cake for the fintechs in Nigeria came in early 2023, where we had the cash scarcity.
Yes.
So I think that exposed a lot of Nigerians to fintechs. When the bank e-payment infrastructure could not contain the pressure that was coming from a lot of Nigerians, so people were looking for alternatives. At that point in time, a lot of people have been using fintech, then they started talking to try this, try that. Their transfer is swift and it's even free in some cases. So you see a lot of people moved into fintech at that point, and since then they have been going up because a lot of people have now realized what the benefit. They get a lot of benefits more than banking with and convenience more than using the traditional bank. So I think that is how the fintech journey has been in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Samson. So I'm going to come to you, Aki. And going back to you, I want to pick something he said. After some time, you could just open a bank account, right, with your phone. And so how has smartphones penetration, improved internet access and improved internet access rather, access made fintech more accessible? It seems like a pretty no-brainer, right? But I'm sure you probably give us some technical.
So the first thing you have to look at is what is fintech. 20 years ago, there's nothing like fintech. If you work in a bank there, maybe you're in the IT department, you're fixing motherboard, or you're fixing the HCM or something.
Network.
So the question is, fintech itself is new. It's like bringing something new to the dictionary, bringing the finance and the technology together. And this cannot work without the introduction of fast internet all over. So some years ago, when I started technology, it was a dial-up. I don't know if you use dial-up then. Now you have to put a modem, connect it, then maybe go and cook while the thing is connecting and pray to God that nobody shakes the computer before you know everything has gone off. So at that point, there was no way a fintech company can come into Nigeria. So it falls back to the internet. So the fact that we have a good internet solution, then we can start having technology. It was easy for you now to make a video call on your phone, but then it was to go now. You know how to go, they work now. So you used to go connecting, and big boys use Yahoo Messenger.
At the time,
at some point, these things relies on the internet. So the smartphones coming into Nigeria itself, if there was no good internet infrastructure, there won't be a business for smartphones in Nigeria.
Sure.
I remember the first time I got a SIM card, it was a big deal. I didn't have a phone, but I had a SIM card.
Yeah.
You know how that thing go now.
20,000 at the time.
So
right?
my dad brother sent a phone all the way from US, a Samsung. I can't forget the phone, slim Samsung phone. You know how many things you can do with that kind of phone. It was a big deal.
Yeah,
but going online then, opening Google alone takes forever. So if you cannot even open Google, how do you want to transfer money to somebody?
Really.
So that's the challenge. So the fintech itself has grown because the internet is working well. So that bridge in technology, and it has affected every other industry. So if you see the medicine is affected, the media is affected. Now you can talk of streaming. Then it was CD. You have to go to Mr. Biggs to buy CD.
Yeah.
But now you can stream online and make money from it. So it has affected every aspect of business. And for finance itself, for the banking industry, like he said, it has changed the way we do business. The way we send money, the way we receive money has changed. So it's a major leap in technology, and honestly is well appreciated.
Oh, thank you very much for breaking it down, Aki. That's so. I really agree with you on a lot of things you said there. So, bringing Wade into this conversation now, right? So, Wade, Nigeria has a large underbanked population, really, and how is fintech solving this problem?
I listened to Samson and I listened to Aki, and yes, a number of things have happened over the course of the years. You spoke about dialogue, then it went to big dishes that banks were using, and the fact that the word WWW came into Nigeria, and then in 2001, just by opening up the telecommunications market, just helped improve so many things. It was easier. I remember my first phone. I actually took a loan to buy my first phone, and the SIM was 35,000, while the phone was cheaper. So if people don't know, let me tell you now, I paid that loan for 6 months. But the fact remains that with that coming in, and I remember that then, I think it was Econet and MTN, and it was 50 naira per minute. So whether it was 1 second or 60 seconds or 59 seconds, you paid with 50 naira.
That was a day of talking fast.
But the truth remains that with a large population, mostly in what you call semi-urban areas, what you need to do is be able to move that infrastructure as quickly, as fast as possible. Nigeria still has an internet penetration of about 45%. Something, you correct me if I'm wrong, and we're looking at 75% by 2025, which I think is a far cry. But if we continue to put in the investments with all the things that are happening in the telecoms industry, then we would see the growth of fintechs. Why? Because then my grandmother in the village, you can open an account and you can send them money, and you can get people to help them do transactions. So at the end of the day, infrastructure is key, which is what you need to do. And then the second part of it is that even the fintech business with the PBS now, then I think is really going to grow.
Okay, thank you very much, Wade. I was going to ask you the role government has played, in supporting this environment, but we don't really. Let's move forward.
Well, the truth of it is that government has done a lot. First and foremost, by opening up that market. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And then giving investors the opportunities to put the monies into it. I think the next thing is what kind of policy. The NCC has done a great job in terms of policy, but now I think the next part of them is how do you expand that internet infrastructure, which is policy that needs to drive that for investment. But we know how investments are today.
Yeah, and that's literally where we're going to. We're going to investing part of this conversation. Investing in Nigeria's fintech landscape, really. And I'm starting from the top again, Samson. So I'm going with you, right? So what are the key areas in fintech that are attracting investors?
Okay, thank you. When we talk of fintech in Nigeria, I think payment has been the cornerstone.
Yeah. Payment, right?
Payment, yes.
Processing.
Payment processing and all that. So we've seen a lot of investments going into payment fintechs, and that is why if you look at the most of the unicorns, I mean the fintech the startups that have crossed $1 billion valuation, you will see that most of them are payment fintech.
Yeah.
Talk of the like of Flutterwaves, InterSwitch, OPay, and then recently MoneyPoint. So you see, there is a lot of interest in payment because that is what really drives the fintech industry. So we've seen investment, a lot of investment going into payment fintechs. So of recent, we've also seen attention shifting to crypto fintechs. So we've seen investors also looking at crypto because Nigeria, because of our large youthful population, a lot of Nigerian youth are interested in crypto, and they've seen that this is where Nigerians are moving to. So investors are also shifting their attention to crypto fintech. So we've seen a lot of investments in that areas.
Well, I keep on saying it. I regret not jumping on crypto when it was $10. Now it's almost impossible for me to even afford. But still talking on payments, right? Samson seems to be leading this conversation. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, I have a cough. So how are still on payments, right? So how are mobile payment platforms, leading the way in this space?
So the first thing you want to look at when it comes to mobile payments. So you open the bank back then. I remember my first account was an Oceanic Bank. No advert for them anyway. So you see the way it works then. I went to the bank, opened the account, and I was given this booklet which you can keep as a trophy in your house. And each time you withdraw your balance from them, you have to write the bank, the balance there, and keep that safe. Now, mobile payment has changed the way we do business generally. So you send funds to somebody, and in minutes they get it. And all kudos to our tech infrastructure in Nigeria. Like you said, NCC is doing a good job, but you can't take that away from what the policies they have created. Some of the challenges these policies are bringing on board. So let me give a practical example of some of the things affecting fintech right now in Nigeria. One of the major things is our policies again. The policies are good in terms of NCC, but in terms of our big boys, CBN. So you wake up today and say, I'm doing, let's say OPay, for example. My marketing strength is no transaction fee or low transaction fee. And somebody comes and say, you have to pay 15 naira stamp duty, force everybody. So your customers, to your investor, as an investor in Nigeria, that can even shake me. That's the major thing, because I already have a calculation, a financial projection for the year that says we're going to make this amount of money. And now the CBN is bringing a policy that would make some customer rethink their decision that, why do I still need to work with this mobile payment solution? So in a way, it's affecting the people themselves. The business have been affected. So a mobile payment solution now that was saying, I can make 20 billion in the next 1 month. We'll have to rethink that decision.
The whole strategy will have to change.
And this kind of things, if we are not careful, can actually affect the businesses. Because the whole reason why the unbanked are coming on board is because they don't need to put their money in Kolo and they don't need to pay so much high charges. But now when you're not bringing those charges then they just go back and dust the old Kolo now. Just pick it back. They just write their balance. They don't even write it. It's their own. They just safeguard that room. That will become a sacred. Nobody can go into that because that's where they keep their money. So it has affected in a way, and it's also helping because if the policies are better, believe me, more people will come into that space. We still have a lot of people that are not using the fintech industries. A lot of people are still not even having a bank account. They just keep their money where they want. They still like small money, but you see, those small money are what made MoneyPoint where they are today. Because those people on the street that can easily give you small money, quick money, they are the one making the shift. Not those big boys that the banks already know that they would keep the money there by default. And that's where the money is, the small businesses.
Okay. I mean, still jumping on of what you said, right? Wadi, I'm coming to you, right? So with what you said, what opportunities do digital lending platforms, provide for individuals and businesses?
Okay, so let me take it from this perspective. Because we need to go a credit system in Nigeria. Are you with me? And retail credit is what drives any economy in the world. 40 to 60% of developed economies are banked, are hinged on retail credit. And that's what you don't have in Nigeria. And this is what the fintech solutions provide for you. Retail credits that you can easily at the doorstep knock, like it says, open an account, you get a loan. But the biggest challenge is the KYC. And with Nigeria's credit history, in reality, there's a credit bureau, and so these days what you find is aside from some of them acting like loan sharks, and I'm sure you know what loan sharks
Oh
are,
yes, oh yes.
which sometimes you need to do to ensure that the system stabilizes, which I think is beginning to stabilize with all the rules and regulations that have been put in place, and we'll get there. But when you consider the fact that this administration is huge on retail credit, then it gives them that huge opportunity to ensure that they expand not only their infrastructure, and which is what we said at the beginning. You need to expand the internet infrastructure so that it can get to those retail customers who actually require them. A lot of the MSMEs today, a lot of the small businesses, a lot of the single individual businesses all have fintech related financial accounts.
Yeah.
And that is huge for the economy. 200 million people, wow, that's huge for the economy.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation about this with Tunji Andrews a couple of weeks back. You know, it's so interesting to see like everyone here is actually, you know, sort of aligns with, you know, what was telling me that day. And so coming back to you, Samson, right? You know, you mentioned crypto, you know, people coming into crypto, and a lot of young Nigerians, you know, being interested in that. So why are wealth management apps, you know, wealth management apps in particular becoming so popular amongst, you know, young Nigerians?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, when Wale was speaking earlier, I mentioned, he talked about small money. You know, where you have a large youthful population, where they are not the big pockets that want to go to the bank to go and, or go to an investment firm or anything.
Yeah.
So a lot of young Nigerians, they've seen opportunities with wealth management because with as little as 1,000 naira, you can start saving, you can start investing, which you cannot get in any traditional investment platform or anything.
Yeah.
So that is one, because you can invest as little as what you have. Then number
From your
two,
phone, right?
yes, number two, that's where I'm going, is the convenience. You don't have to go to one company to go and start filling forms and start doing this and start bringing your NEPA bill and all that.
Yeah, proof of
so you just pick your phone, download an app, then you see what you can invest. You don't even have to leave your house to do it. So the convenience is also there. Then also, all those apps also help you to, they kind of give like financial literacy, because you see your spending pattern. You see, okay, this month, this is the amount that came into the app, and this is the amount that I spent, this is the amount that I saved, this is the amount of interest that I have in my savings. So you are able to monitor your spending, your financial what do I call it?
Right?
Awareness. So you have that. So this encourage a lot of people to, a lot of young Nigerians to really go into app. If you want to invest, so you don't have to go to any company, you don't have to go to, just on your phone, you can start investing, and you can even start getting interest. So I think that's the reason you see a lot of young Nigerians embracing wealth management app.
So what you said, the older Nigerians need to go and start.
No,
They're also part of it. They're also part
older
of it.
Nigerians confuse me for how they invest in these companies and make more money.
Thank you, Wally.
And also to add
That's
to that, you see the traditional, if you see the NGX, for instance, they also know, they've seen where everything is moving to. That's why recently they also launched an app that you can also invest in all these IP, all these banks raising money. So that they make it easy for people to just in their house too. So because they've realized that this is the only way they can bring in the youth to participate in the equity market. So they also gone the way of apps.
That's good. So with all what we've said, right? Because I mean the focus of this particular part of the conversation is investing, right? So I'm throwing this question to, you know, it's open. Kayode included. So what should potential investors consider when looking at Nigeria's fintech industry?
I think you first look at the population.
Okay.
The population is there. So whatever you're bringing, whether you're coming to say what we call maybe chin, or you're bringing a fintech product, we have a mass population, and most of them are youths. These are people that have the smartphones, they have access to it. They can be online from morning till night. So you have to consider the fact that whatever you're selling in that industry would always work, in that economy rather, will always work. So coming with your investment into Nigerian space, now we know we have the challenges of cybersecurity, which is a big issue right now. Almost everybody trying to solve. For me, I classify it as an internal challenge. It means if you can strengthen your security infrastructure, you can deal with that. We have the external challenge, like the policies that, okay, over time it becomes better. So bringing your funds into Nigeria to invest in the fintech industry, I think is the best time. No matter how many we have currently. Recently, I just spoke to one of them. A lot of them come to tech companies so that we can give them access to their client base. Now, there are so many. In the last 2 years, I've interacted so many. So many fintech companies are coming in. So many payment solutions are coming in. And all what they are giving is, can we enter this market? And the market is there. So any investor coming into Nigeria right now, I think is a good market. It's a good market to start with.
Well, in as much as I agree with Akin, I do have a bit of a reservation. And the reservation comes from the fact that where the regulatory framework is not clearly defined. And you mentioned something earlier about the CBN waking up in the morning and bringing out.
We don't know what happens tomorrow.
Exactly. So where the regulatory framework, especially for fintechs, so they treat. Currently, you look at fintechs like your traditional banks, which in a way shouldn't be. There should be a clearly defined regulatory framework so that the investors who are coming in, looking at that population, looking at the different sectors of the economy, especially on the retail end, which we call the informal markets, that they can put their monies into. And believe me, there are a number of investors who are looking at Nigeria's informal markets to try and make them formal. So it's really important that they consider the regulatory framework, because the back and forth, we saw what happened with FX, with CBN. Today you can be, tomorrow you can be. Now they've streamlined it to a large extent with the system that they brought in. But is it still
But you must also look at it from the point of view of the fact that this is a new industry as far as I'm concerned in Nigeria.
And I agree with you.
So there's no how-to manual before now for the Nigerian government to pick and work with.
I beg to disagree with you, Aki, on that. The fintech movement is at least 30 years, and it started in developed countries. Do you understand? And it also started a lot from some of the traditional banks who invested a lot in technology.
Definitely.
Exactly. So, but there are frameworks that guide them, which cuts across what's called, not one size fits all, but there are basic things that need to be put inside it. In Nigeria today, something correct me, is there any regulatory framework that guides the fintechs aside from, I think there are some of the states that have. Is there any regulatory financial framework?
I think what the CBN is trying to do is, they introduce what they call regulatory sandbox.
Exactly.
Is to allow the fintechs to experiment with what they have with their solutions while they are watching them. So at some point when they see that, okay, you are going beyond, and that is why you see last year when they said, okay, going forward, all accounts must be linked with BVN. NIN and all that. Before fintechs can just,
and that's what I'm saying. So that framework needs to be clear.
Exactly.
It needs to be clear and defined so that investors who come in, are you with me, are sure that tomorrow you get, yes, of course, there are sandboxes that you're testing new things and new developments every day, but you need to have that standard, which I haven't seen.
Okay, so have you heard about Open Bank? Open Bank.
Yes.
So the open bank infrastructure is designed to bring framework into the place,
and I agree,
and that's why I said, one thing about Nigeria, especially Africa, might be good to use is that our terrain is different. What works in the UK or in other European countries, when you bring it to Nigerian markets, we have to factor in our people, our cultures into this thing.
And Nigeria hardly goes at the beach.
When it comes to Nigeria,
I can remember
things are different.
Let's always be careful, especially when it comes to financial terrorism. Do you understand? Things remain the same.
In what context?
In the context that it is finance.
Okay.
It always remains the same. It's just that the peculiarities of nations differ. Do you understand? But my point is this, and I would leave it at this because time is fast spent. My point is, if all of us, we're all agreeing on one thing, if there is no sound basis,
there's nothing.
Are you with me? We can have 1 billion people like India. So some of these things that we're saying, look at India. with their fintechs, their standard regulatory frameworks that have been built over time. It didn't come overnight. You understand? Even in China, as much as is regulated by the authorities, so they can yank you in and yank you out. But the fact remains that there are some basic guidelines that help everybody, which is what my point is. So if investors are looking at that population, you can't beat it in Africa. If you're not doing business in Nigeria, then you can't beat it.
That means the more investors we have in the markets, the more we have regulations. And another major thing we need to work on as a nation is continuity. Yeah. I always emphasize on that word, continuity. So somebody starts this policy. Can we continue and make amends, not allowing it to affect the entire business? Because you can't just wake up. I'm planning to start a fintech business now. I was discussing with my guys there. And the question is, I already had my project. I've done so many presentations. Now I have to go back to my books because I have to include some new costs into it. Yeah. There is also high probability that in the next 3 months that will change.
And that's my point.
That's what makes Nigeria fun sometimes.
when it works for you, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's on the other side.
There must be some basics that all of us must agree on.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that
they have to be structured.
As you update on them, everybody knows in which direction they are going.
Exactly. So that picture is clear.
Which is what we're saying. They have to be structured.
Sorry to cut you guys because time is up, right? What does the future look like for fintech in Nigeria? With this back and forth, right? We have 1 minute. Who wants to go?
Bright. That's the only thing I'll say.
Yeah, we also support that. I think the future is bright because if you look at, there is an FINA report of 2023 talk about there was still about 48% of adult Nigerians without bank accounts. Okay. So it means the market is still huge. The fintechs still have a lot of opportunities to go into rural areas. When we're talking about fintechs, you will see that most of the people that open fintech accounts, they are still in the city. Yeah. So there are still a lot of rural communities where they don't even know about fintechs. So there are still a
lot of people we can get on board. Right?
Exactly.
The future is right.
Sorry. Time is spent. We don't. I knew this was going to happen, and I'm going to get the all of you back at the studio, right? So we can, further discuss this better. It was really nice having you guys. Unfortunately, we have to call it the show to an end now, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow Nigerians on all social media channels, and definitely I'll bring these guys back. So we can trash it out more and get to hear them more better on a lot of other topics in context of what we're talking today. All right, guys, take care. Have a nice day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's obvious.